As icons go, a circuit like this one needs no introduction. Based in Wisconsin, halfway between Milwaukee and Green Bay, is the very iconic Road America. It is an institution of high-speed racing and is all about the duels and battles that have happened time and time again via NASCAR, via the likes, of course, of IMSA, and now to this, the start of a brand new season. This is GT Open here for SimRacing Republic, your opening round with a sprint and a master to work itself into play. Welcome to the party and conversation with us on the Global Sim Racing channel. My name's Jake Sperry. Along with me for today's action is Alex Goldschmidt. Christian Deploy sits in the director's chair for this one, and the camera's provided by Dougie Beard. But to Road America, which forms the, I would say, pentagon of circuits out there in the world of sim racing, where everybody has at least a great understanding of how to drive this track. The question on how to be the best at it, well, you might get a little bit of a juicy tidbit of that with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But two of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why.
A circuit that has all the overtaking thrills out there. Not a registered tight hairpin to be found here today, Alex. But as we find ourselves in Wisconsin, we're in effectively the German part of America by heritage. And this a track along the side of the Great Lakes that says, look, you need to be at your absolute best every single lap. Today is about finding the back of the car in front, holding on and waiting for opportunity.
Definitely, Jake. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, no wonder it's called America's National Park of Speed, but we might have to call it Germany's National Park of Speed. But you've got a lot of overtaking opportunities. You've got to bide your time, wait for that opportunity to strike. We are going to see people diving to the inside at the Moraine sweep off of T5, the Road America straight into T1, another classic overtaking opportunity. But you've also got that uphill climb after turn 14. Drivers might go for a move at Canada Corner, but 2 wide going into there's a bit touchy. 3 wide into there, the person on the outside is going to exit stage left and go straight into the barriers 100%.
And you can't afford to see that happen. It's a 6.5 kilometer circuit with 14 turns that has remained unchanged since its inception back in 1955. There aren't many circuits in the world that can say they haven't gone through any form of track alteration or variation out there. So it's very unique here for Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and the action that they've got. So let's talk ourselves through then what we have upcoming here today with racing action. This is the first round of 6 that we've got going forward, and we start with the sprint here for this one. Just 25 minutes worth of racing action to go in these GT3 cars, and they've got open setups available to them. And here's the big key right now, Alex, that custom balance of performance. They're not running iRacing standard. They've got their own balance of performance in, so every car should feel like it has a chance. We've seen as much as 11 kilograms get put on the Ford Mustang, as nothing has been done to the BMW M4 nor the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo.
Yeah, we've only also, along with that, Jake, had two cars that have had a power reduction by 0.5%. That's the Acura NSX and the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. And with the teams being capped at a 75% fuel limit, it is going to be interesting, but it is about how you set up the car to compensate for that additional ballast, for that power reduction. And if you can line it all up together, you've got a sweet riding vehicle around here at Road America.
You absolutely do. That 75% fuel tank should mean about 45 minutes in, so don't expect a pit stop in the heat, but there'll be a master, so to speak, to come after the sprint in the, quote, sprint feature style of racing that they have had. Qualifying then has got itself pretty much sorted, so that is about 30 seconds away from ticking over. The checkered flag has been seen by everyone, but remember, even though that Thanksgiving is done, the biggest iRacing sale of the year is still on all the way to December 2nd, which is Tuesday. So get 50% off of any new membership out there on iRacing, or if you're looking for an early renewal or reactivation, you can get 25% off by heading over to iRacing.com/Black Friday, because the gift that keeps on giving will soon be, of course, iRacing over towards Christmas. But our grid then is formed, and three categories out there, a Pro, an Am, and a Pro-Am, and we'll be able to tell you where they are based on number, which will be the key out there. But it is a pole position then for the Dutch driver Ryan van der Grijp, who has it on a 201.407. Corbin Lenaway is alongside for company with Davide Pezzi and Alessandro Torchio in fourth position. Daniel Mills will have for company in GT3 Pro the likes of Michele Villazzi with Norzwagi and Ryan Fuqua, then seventh and eighth. Antti Terho will go from ninth position, with Freek Koek rounding out your top 10 in the division. We will look through the final cars in that category who will start where they need to. So Oye Hugo and Ian Anderson there are 13th and 16th. Nick Davis will be going from 17th with Luke Wallace 18th. 20th for Marcelo Caserta. Camden Craft down in 22nd, with drivers like Diego Nicolas, Trevor Vavroski, Stein Handgraaf, and Dylan Platt all the way back down in 45th position. The last car in the category then will be Ale Torres, who did not set a time, down in 46th. You've got Alex Goldschmidt with Pro-Am.
Yep, so looking at the Pro-Am side of things for round one here for the sprint, it's Daniel Dorscheid and Johan Neshev who will line up on the 6th row of the grid, but the opening row in GT3 Pro-Am. Dan van Zutphen and Stefan Jones will be on the 14th and 15th. Thomas Dunn and Sven Landgraf will be on 21st and 23rd respectively. Nicholas Larsen and Niels Baukhager will be on row 13 of the overall grid. Roberto Stefano Kovac and Miroslav Sotirov will be on 30th and 31st position respectively. And then following on after that, Alessandro Vanozzi and Max Kraus will be on 32nd and 33rd. Mike Schmidt and Marvin Bear will be on 35th and 36th, rounding out row 18. Michael Teichmann and Callum Jones will round out the top 39 cars, with Julian Dimitrov on 40th. Then we got Sven Schobensee on 42nd, Mika Höxter 43rd, Yuppie Simmons on 44th position. And then we got a few more drivers to call, Thomas Seifert being the last of them, and did not also set a lap in qualifying.
We'll very quickly go through the AM drivers here, because they are looking to get ready to start. Gareth McRae, best of them, in 19th, with Kevin Maillard and Luke Sloats. Only 6, so Richie Chowan then will be going 34th. Marcel Nürnberg in 37th, and then the final driver being Ivan Loskotov, who did not set a time, will go from 47th on the grid. They will be looking around today, thinking they need a good start. It's about 10 a.m. It's a very heavy wind coming in from the northwest, cross tailwind across this front stretch, cross headwind down the Moraine sweep, and again cross headwind as they head to Canada Corner. They will set up then behind Ryan van der Grijp, who will be looking to get this season underway. Mercedes versus Aston Martin to start your season off. The green flag goes, and they now find themselves underway. They had to wait for the drop of the start-finish line before they could get themselves underway. Immediately trouble there with one of the SimGear cars in the back. I believe that would have been Johan Neshev, who had to pull out of line. Into turn one they go then. for the first time and into their run that they need. A good start for Van der Rijp, Lenaway second, Petsy into third, and a big issue now straight across the circuit. How is that? Missed everyone from Ian Anderson.
Was definitely a big moment there for Anderson as he tumbles down the order like the proverbial stone, as it is 3 wide, heading down towards turn 5 through the Marine sweep. This could be very close. It's the person with the inside line that's going to have the advantage, and it's Mercedes versus Mustang versus McLaren, and Michele Velazzi manages to keep a hold of 10th position at the moment, ahead of Ryan Fuqua from Hyperion Racing in the number 45 McLaren, but boy oh boy was that close.
Yeah, it was a lightning start. You can see all your categories there on screen and the gaps between them there. Johan Neshev in control of Pro-Am at the moment. McRae in charge of Am. Oh, and it's Gonzac going down through into there to hurry downs. Marcella Caserta is the one who ends up turned around. There's going to be another hit down into the barriers down there. And it's one of the blue machines. I think it was they're going by Nick Davis with someone else. There's Sotorov trying to go through, and Stefan Jones, backmarker racing green, is going to have to limp his way through the carousel.
Oh dear, that first lap always sets the tone of how the race will proceed, Jake, and we know that very well indeed. Dan van Zutphen for Maniti Racing in the Pro-Am number 179 Mercedes, currently P2 in the class, and he's right on the rear of the 181 of Yuri Neshev.
Yeah, and they are sat right behind this battle here of Fuqua and Velazzi for position. So they're looking to try and get what they can for 07 Racing. Velazzi up the hill. Here comes the drive then from Ryan Fuqua to try and get it done. Now that McLaren's had nothing done to it. 11 kilograms on that Mustang by comparison, so it's going to be very bulky and very heavy, very sluggish to get the power on, and the move comfortably done with a car, nothing to it. The two Mercedes side by side for Pro-Am honours in the lead, and watch out, because trying to get through both of them is the pro in the Aston Martin there from Andorra, Oye Hugo, trying to find a way through.
Yeah, Van Zutphen nearly got it round the outside of Neshev, who's briefly on the flashers, as it's very much toe-to-toe between these two. They go off underneath the Sargento Cheese bridge, and Van Zutphen again, he's got the overspeed this time. Can he line it up for T5? Not quite, but he's going to still try and keep his foot stuck in. Round the outside he goes. He's pushing on the right rear quarter panel of Neshev as they go through into 6.
Yeah, but it's tough to go on the outside for 2 straight corners. You need to try and command here, heading to the hurry down section. And so for Dan van Zutphen, he's now going to have to sit behind Johan Neshev and do everything he can to set himself up and say, look, this is what I need to do for Manatee to get by the SimGear Bulgaria car out there at the moment. There's someone off in the background as we watch Alessandro Vanozzi for position now in the Absolute Motorsport Acelith 199, trying to get any sort of movement sorted into this long carousel. A killer of left-hand side tyres.
Yeah, it looks like it was Stein Hangraf that went off the circuit, so unfortunately for the number 21, that's been a bit of a disastrous start for the race, but Van Zutphen still trying to get through, and now they're being barged out of the way by the by Oya Hugo, who's trying to get through on the pair of them as they go through into turn number 13. Van Zutphen has to give way. Oh no, the McLaren's lost his front bumper.
Yeah, there was Luke Wallace who was trying to follow through. He was in a scrap with Oye Hugo, and he gets his nose chopped very quickly. Nick Davis will also join this, so the Pro-Ams jumping up with the pros. Ryan van der Rijp, the fastest lap then for Manatee Racing Pro at 2:02.549. Davis there for GT Dynamics, trying to give himself a run here to go in at turn number 1, but not going to find it. So a frenetic start to racing here. It's calm at the front through the front 8. Everything behind that, you know, you could throw it to hell in a handbasket right now. Everybody is trying to jump and find moves.
It's like the elbows are well and truly out and sharpened here. You know, the first round of any championship, we all know, Jake, is very spicy. And here at Road America, America's National Park of Speed, it's no exception as we ride on board with Gareth McRae for the Impact Sim Sports number 262 that is leading the GT3 AM class. And look at the train in front of him. He's got one of the, that's Nick Davis and the GT Dynamics Mercedes just up ahead with Luke Wallace, Dan van Zutphen, Oya Hugo still trying to get past Yuri Neshev in the 181 GT3 Pro-Am class leader. As look at how wide coming out of that corner did Nick Davis go. He kept the Mercedes fully lit though.
He can sense with the way that he's trying to get around that he is looking for any way to make this move, be it up, down, left, right, sideways, slantways. You can ask the great grass elevator to put you through that move. It's tough at the moment as they figure out here in the middle of this race, racing around for net 11th with Neshev under pressure then from Oye Hugo, trying to work through and gain that position and will comfortably dive down the inside. Neshev jumps out of the way and the pass made. Von Zutphen just behind. Wallace and Davis. Oh, there's a little tag between them, front to rear. Just enough to unsettle, and he tries to cut him up under through Bill Mitchell-Bed. That will present Gareth McRae with an opportunity, but McRae just sits back and says, you know what? Your game, not mine.
Exactly, he's leading GT3 Am by the best part of what is going to be more than about five. Well, he's leading it by quite a considerable margin, 6.4 seconds. As there has been a little bit of a change. Richie Chauhan has dropped down the order. The 212 was running second and now has tumbled.
Yeah, so that 212 is limping out of the final corner by the looks of it and trying to get back up to speed. So from second, that is going to be tough. Now, race control have just noted incidents on lap 2 with Daniel Dorscheid, noting the multiple incidents on lap 1. This is Chauhan in through the final corner here. So just catches it a bit too aggressive over the curb, spins up the rears, and that is straight into the inside tyres, which have caught many a driver out as Wallace, side by side, now tries to deal with the fact that the number 2 car of Nick Davis wants to work her way through the long way around 6 of the road, hard travelled, and it's worked.
Yeah, nice move there by the GT Dynamics Mercedes, but you can there's just this air right about now as we're nearly at the halfway stage of this race. 17 minutes and 25 seconds out of the 25 to go, so we're about 5 minutes away from half time. It's just so close. You cannot predict how this opening sprint race of the season, of course we've got 6 circuits to go to. There is one round that will be a 90-minute enduro, but for the majority of this it is going to be that case of how much do you want to put on the line now as Dan Van Zutphen goes wheel to wheel with Johan Neshev, and he's again trying around the outside. That's not going to work there, but still Van Zutphen is keeping his foot completely stuck in as it's Mercedes versus Mercedes. There is, wobble there from Nick Davis.
Yeah, he got a little caught up there. Luke Wallace is there. Gareth McRae's on the back of it too. Another fastest lap for Von der Wright as Wallace up the hill side by side. Now there needs to be a push from McRae. A bump draft on Luke Wallace to try and get him alongside. Covers off the move. Does Davis here? They'll cross the beams heading to turn number 1. This is brilliant in the middle of the pack right now, and suddenly it's Am versus Pro for position. Can McRae work down to the inside to get this move done? Behind that, you've got Diego Nicolas there in the 11, and then the Pro-Am of Niels Baukager trying to jump through. Thomas Dunn of Pro-Am, Nicholas Larson of Pro-Am. They're all there. It shows the more you go side by side, the more you're going to drag yourself back into the Venus flytrap of the battle behind.
Yeah, there is a swarm of cars behind McRae, who's now 15th overall. A dive to the inside. Diego Nicolas from Inosis Esports rounds out the top 40, rounds out 14th overall in the GT3 Pro side of things.
And Dan Van Zutphen then, Alex, is through. He's got it done on Johan Neshev for position, and Neshev immediately has to leave the door open. Massive dive down the inside by Nick Davis, and Johan effectively leans on him coming out of the hurry down section and says, at the carousel, get a door. McRae goes around.
McRae's lost the back end.
Just like that, gonna need to find a way to get up to speed. Maillard now leader of Pro-Am then with that change. So Kevin Maillard given a gift out there, and that's what happens when you've got a big lead. You cannot take liberty with any car out there.
No, and this is the replay, and it's to the inside of turn 5. So Van Zutphen lined it up nice and neat. He kept the throttle stuck in, was half a car length. He was leading on Neshev, and he goes round at turn 6. That's exactly what you said there, Jake. He needed to command it, and by taking that inside line, he had the mettle to put his money where his mouth was there.
And speaking of which, it's 3 places lost on one straight for Davide Pezzi, as through goes Norzwagi, through goes Alessandro Torchio, and through goes Daniel Mills. So it's the Aston Martin, the new car out there in iRacing, that jumps by Mustang, and that wonderful Corvette out there. Here's the touch. So you know that you're always going to be out there. McRae gets unsettled, and then you're always going to go with the profile of the carousel to the outside. So nowhere to go for that second of the Mercedes there, but they work through the Marine sweep and into turn 5, and this group now 2.5 seconds behind then Lenaway and Von der Grijp out there at the moment at the front. So they've got a lot of work to do out there, but this is exactly what we're looking at. There is the stone face of Ryan Van der Grijp out there, face of concentration, and he knows that he's got a job, because Corbin Lenaway I would put down as favourite for this season.
Yeah, also there's been further dramas for the GT Dynamics number 3 Mercedes-Benz, Nick Davis having been tangled inadvertently by that
safety car.
Yeah, so yes, there's been a safety car deployed. So what has now happened is that Nick Davis has ended up in pit lane.
Oh, it's for Anderson. Sorry, I've just caught it. So safety car's going to come out. It's for the 18 of Ian Anderson, who found himself around. He's got the boot right now hovering, and he is crabbing horribly right now in his car at the moment. The number 18 running around, I believe, in the Acura out there at the moment. So that is going to bring the field down. It's going to neutralize it. So with this full course yellow, any battles that they had, they have to go to pacing speed, pit limiter speed of 72 kilometers an hour. Here's Ian Anderson then driving for Def SimRacing Pro, and you can see just as they get the call, someone didn't get the call of full course yellow. I believe it would have been their Soterov, I think, who got into the back, and that's how quickly it can all go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I say, Nick Davis from GT Dynamics in the number 3 GT3 Pro car had that tangle with Gareth McRae after McRae went spinning coming through the carousel, and then it just all went horribly wrong. So I think the GT Dynamics number 3 car has been involved in another incident, and he is still stuck in pit lane as we have 12 minutes to go under safety car conditions. But yeah, like you say, and here is the replay with Nick Davis, and it's coming out of the final corner. Shades of Ricky Chouhan, and it's going to be exactly the same response, is it? No, he keeps it out of the barriers, but now it's the rejoin. Oh no, that's not what you need to do. You should have held your brakes there, Nick, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you've got to make sure they go. They're back to green flag running, the rear completely taken off, and so as they go, it's a virtual safety car, so to speak, because there's no safety car that comes out there, but they do keep themselves at pit speed limit before getting back up. Pezzi there in 6th. Hugo now looking to get the move. The Andorran trying to find a way past Michele Velazzi in the 75-4 position. And Osis Esports looking for that run, but it's not going to be quite there in through turn 3. But this is the best place, the Moraine Sweep. You get this run, and it's downhill into turn 5.
Yeah, and this is where you can really see the overspeed, of course, with that 11 kilos of ballast on that Ford Mustang in front. Oya Hugo will be smiling like the proverbial Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland, but he's not quite close enough. He needed to be right on the rear diffuser of Michele Velazzi just up in front, but Velazzi makes a slight misjudgment call coming out of turn 5, now into 6 before we head into the hurry downs. And then again, you can see with that additional 11 kilos of ballast, it's unsettling the rear end of that Mustang, which is probably making Oya Hugo feel very, very content at the moment, because he's just got to bide his time. We've got under 10.5 minutes to go until the checkered, and Oya Hugo gunning for that 9th place as they head through the carousel.
He'll want it, and he'll want to be aggressive with it out there in this race, knowing how critical the gaps are. And I also want to point out several speeding penalties have been noted, or infringements, and they will be reviewed post-race. This is Luke Sloats, who is now trying to find himself into 2nd right now. Both Simmer eSport cars together with Ivan Loskotov, and they've got to work together, because that's Maillard in front of them, who is AM leader. They've got to try and catch up. Behind them, of course, Soterov and Roberto Kovac.
Yeah, and they do say that strength always plays in numbers. Of course, yes, being under the same team, I wonder if there are any team orders in effect, but Loskotov goes a little bit wide, allowing Sloots to close as they head through turn 13. And now, I don't think there's any team orders. I think they've been given the green flag to go racing, as Loskotov is going to have Sloots right up his exhaust pipe as they come down the start-finish stretch.
Well, if you want to find a way through, if you want to jump up, if you know how critical the passes are going to be, you're going to need to be aggressive. Neshev back with Dan van Zutphen in Pro-Am, which continues fighting with Wallace for position. They change in Pro-Am between Loskotov and Sloot. So Sloot, I believe, just holds then in that battle between them as they'll work to turn 3. But look at Dan here. He's got to work through. Wallace wants through, and they've got Ryan Fuqua as well, the other of those McLarens that's trying to work its way through. So you've got to try and find yourself an angle. It could be 3 wide here, and Sotorov's going to try and work him. Sorry, Neshev's going to work himself now to the middle, stuck in a sandwich. Where do you go? Trying to muscle his way through the middle to stay with Dunn. Oh, he almost turns over the nose of Fuqua as he works through over the top of turn 6, still with the nose in to get it done around the outside. That is legendary aura farming.
Whoa, hold the phone is all I'm going to say on that one, as Luke Wallace tries to see if he can get through on the Mercedes, but that Mercedes is like a Sherman tank at the moment. Neshev still is losing time. He's about 1.8 seconds behind GT3 Pro-Am race leader Dan van Zutphen in the 179 car, and there's the other Ionesis Esports car, Diego Nicholas, running 13th in GT3 Pro, 16th overall. And look, this is a 7-car train, a septet of vehicles, as here goes Luke Wallace. He's going to try round the outside. Can he get the overrun? No, he can't.
No, but he needs to drive off the exit. It's pinched beautifully there by Johan Neshev, who realises I've got to play couch commander and I've lost 2 seconds, so I've got to work to get it back. You've got Diego Nicholas here in the middle of this one with Ryan Fuqua, Niels Boekhager in this group, then Thomas Dunn, Nicholas Larsen, Sven Landgraf is in there, as well as Trevor Vavroski, the number 3 out there, will want to try and jump back up the order too. Boekhager now with a look, side by side behind as they form into 2 groups, and they'll go to 3 wide in front of them here as they work through. Nicholas happy with Thomas Dunn, and it's going to get close, and somehow the clearance there for Boekhager, who's going for 2nd in category now as he works this one to try and get it done at turn 3. Neshev again resolute on the inside. He's got a car that can turn on a 6pence.
Yeah. Boekhager very, very lucky that did not get messy going through into turn 1. He's right on the rear of Neshev, and this just goes to show how quickly things can change. And Boekhager to the outside here at turn 5 through the Marine sweep. He's going to turn it in, keep it pinned, lights up the rear tyres on that 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10, and he's still round the outside. Shades of Dan van Zutphen, but Neshev still able to carry it round through at turn 7 at the hurry downs. Boekhager has no move that can counter Neshev at the moment, as Wallace is going to lose a space to Diego Nicholas from Ionesis Esports.
Yeah, Thomas Dunn was nibbling at the back of Luke Wallace. He's made 2 taps to the left rear of that McLaren that works its way through. So Dunn right now is anything but done with trying to get this past. Fuqua and Larsen then, so the teams fall into line together as they work through the kink single file. Now they'll run to the corner nearest Canada. Canada corner, very aptly named as they now try and figure out where they go. 2 wide, 3 deep, some Noah's Ark SimRacing. It's held off by Neshev. Wallace now trying to get himself a bit of elbows out, and he will command this next corner against Diego Nicholas. Move made, and then Fuqua down the inside of Nicholas Larsen is going to hold his station. So brilliant stuff in the mid-pack. 1.8 the clearance at the front overall for Ryan van der Grijp with 5 minutes to go, and Maillard 1.8 clear in Pro-Am category. Done, back up the hill, looking for a way now past Diego Nicholas, the Spaniard.
Yeah, and now Boekhager at it again. He's looking to the outside. He's got the overspeed on Neshev. And to the inside of T1, the 181 holds its line at the moment. So Boekhager in that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo is coming at the Mercedes with a big old head of speed as Diego Nicholas, slight twitch there. and goes off the circuit. But there has been a change. Alessandro Torchio through on Daniel Mills for P3.
Torchio with the pass. Daniel Mills now drops down to 4th and off of the pro podium. Boakhager then still trying everything to get by Johan Neshev and doing everything. Covers off middle of the road, looking for a way back. Everyone gets surprised when they see Bulgarian sim racers out there. There are some lightning fast ones back through the years. The likes of Stelian Chepelevsky was the first one that came to my mind, but then you've got likes of Vladislav Shopov, for example, who's lightning quick. You can see that they are farming brilliant sim racers out there. Neshev, just the latest of them, as Boakhager couldn't quite find himself the opportunity to make it work. He's been trying everywhere. Davide Pezzi now down into 7th because Antti Terho is through for Def Sim Racing. And what an incredible team Def Sim Racing are out there when they're racing, Alex, because they don't have the ability of sound to help them out there. They're just on pure feel of what comes through the force feedback.
Also, the visual cues on their HUDs. I've just noticed that Sven Shobensee has ended up in pit lane, so that looks like it's game over for the 198 GT3 Pro Am entries. We still keep our captivated eyes on Niels Boakhager battling away with Johan Neshev for that P2. Meantime, Dan Van Zutphen has cleared off into the tumbleweeds. He's 3.8 seconds up the road as we've got just over 3 minutes and change to go. So it's 1 plus 1 more as Boakhager again gets the overspeed. Neshev defends, but Boakhager once again looks to the outside here at turn 1 and still he can't get through.
From a mile back, Luke Wallace decides that he is going to try and find the smallest gap available, and at turn 3 will try and muscle his way out then in the McLaren. He's not going to get there. That Lamborghini is going to roar with the German-powered engine powered by Audi underneath it as it goes, with Thomas Dunn now trying to get himself the launch as well. All that earnest contact between them, and that just about holds together the blue chip racing. Well, you can say you can be a blue chip prospect out there, but you've got to keep your eyes out for any penalties that are coming in. Another one noted out there, back up the top of the hill, looking for a way through. Dunn finally gets the pass on Wallace. Big contact in the back. Fuqua has dropped back.
Wallace has just got a black flag as well.
Oh, disaster. So he'll have to come down pit lane and serve it, or if he chooses not to, Venozzi is in the same boat. It will be an added 45 to 50 seconds at the end of the race.
Oh, that's not what you want at this late stage because of how hard he was battling. I mean, that was for 11th in Pro-Am, and, you know, Vavrovsky has done a sterling job. He's moved up 6 positions in class, 6 positions. Biggest mover, Thomas Seyfarth, down in 34th position, but 12th in GT3 Pro-Am, has made his way up 9 spots. Daniel Dorscheid, who we had earlier on in the race a little bit further up the order, he's dropped 12 places, so there's been a lot of apple cut upsets here on the opening race of the season, Jake.
Yeah, Loskatov, the overall biggest gainer from 47th to 21st as we focus with Boakhager as we go onto the final lap of this sprint. 2 seconds for Van der Graaf against Corbin Lenaway, but it's about these two here, Neshev and Boakhager. Boakhager's going to try and command the middle of the road. He gets squeezed out through turn 1. What a track commander. No, Johan Neshev is, because Boakhager then holds himself up with everything he can do. He's got the likes of Dunn behind, and then Wallace and Larson. They've decided we can't catch in Pro-Am. We're just going to have to keep scrapping for what we've got. It's under a second behind that between Maillard and Loskatov, who's trying to hold it. Maillard trying to hold on to Sven Landgraf for a place at the moment, but side by side again, down through the sweep. Long way it's going to have to be, Niels, if you want to get it done, and he's going to get dried off the exit. Now, are you going to throw it hard up the inside? Are you going to fall back into line? Neshev covered by Boakhager, finally gets the move done, and Neshev will have to resign now through the likes of the hurry downs. Maybe hope for one more. We go over to Ryan van der Graaf, who built his margin. It was a second for the most time. He got a good jump, but the question will be, was it too good coming out then of the safety car period, the virtual safety car that was there? He has been pretty much the face of pure concentration, knows what the job is all about. But Manatee Racing Pro are going to take honours, it looks like, through the final corner. Ryan van der Rijp exits turn 14, will have an easy climb up the hill. Business as usual for Manatee as they come to the line, and van der Rijp takes the sprint.
Yeah, you can see his stoic face. There's no time for celebration because they've got to really get themselves ready for the master race a little bit later on. Impact SimSport come through with the fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 1. Dan van Zutphen, however, it makes it. Manatee Racing dominant in GT3 Pro, and they do the same in Pro-Am.
Yeah, and here's the big kicker. I've just seen Luke Wallace come into the pits. He thinks he can serve his penalty on the last lap. It won't count. He'll still get assessed a time penalty at the end. Kevin Maillard, then, who got the gift from McRae, just kept it out of trouble. What a day for Impact SimSport Ignite. They'll take that one absolutely beautifully. Simmer Esports Racing and Ivan Loskotov from the back of the field couldn't quite manage to steal that one. Vanozzi, another one dropping down. We'll wait for the last car then to cross the line, which I believe will be Marvin Bear, who will be over a minute down, all things said and told, crossing. But in terms of pro, it is a day of ease out there for the number 78 of Ryan van der Rijp, who would take it in 25 minutes and 34 seconds. A winning margin out there of 1.9 over Corbin Lenaway, with Alessandro Torchio in third ahead of Daniel Mills. Nur Zwagi will be in fifth ahead of Antitejo, and then you got Davide Pezzi in seventh. A quiet race behind him, but very close for Frank Cook, who is there in eighth. Oye Hugo will be in ninth, and your top 10 rounded out by Michele Velazzi. Then in the number 75, you have to then drop down the order to see Trevor Favrovsky and Diego Nicholas, with Ryan Fuqua, Dylan Platt, Luke Wallace 13th, 14th, 15th. Expect Luke to pick up, though, a penalty at the end, which will drop him miles down the order. Stein Handgraf then, and Marcelo Caserta. We saw Caserta in trouble earlier. Ian Anderson had a couple spins that certainly hurt, and Wallace will officially drop down to 17th because of that. Anderson 2 laps down. Nick Davis, a non-finisher. Same can be said as well for Camden Craft. And then finishing off then of those in trouble, you had Ale Torres then, who did not take the start of this race. With Alex Goldschmidt now and Pro-Am.
Well, double delights here at Road America in the sprint race. Dan van Zutphen in the 179, winning by 4.4 seconds, and a great job by Niels Balkager to do the outside number on Johan Neshev, who rounded out your top 3 on the latter stages. Thomas Dunn, Nicholas Larsen, Sven Landgraf, Miroslav Sotirov, Michael Teichmann, Stefan Jones, and Mika Högstra round out the top 10. And then we go a little bit further down the order. Then we had Callum Jones, Daniel Dorscheid, Thomas Seyfarth, Joppy Simons, Roberto Stefano Kovac, Mike Schmidt, Max Kraus, Marvin Bear, Alessandro Vanozzi, and Sven Schobensee, unfortunately retiring earlier on in the race. And with that, Yulian Dimitrov, also an early retiree.
It will hurt for them with the Bulgarian there down the order. Over in AM, just a 6-car category, but Kevin Maillard able to hold off the charge of Ivan Loskotov and Luke Slotz then to go through. So Slotz will be there in third. Gareth McRae had it all under lock and key, but the issue there for him, contact with Nick Davis, enough to take him out of there and to fourth. Marcel Nürnberg then would end up in fifth, and then 9 laps down we saw what happened to Richie Chowan then earlier on in the race, and so sixth it will be in class for the 2-1-2. So we now move ourselves over from sprint to feature. So this is what we call the master race. It's an hour and 5 minutes. It guarantees at least 1 pit stop, but there are 2 mandatory pit stops in play for this one. Again, the custom balancer performance is there. GT3 spec it will be, but 2 mandatory stops, because they can go a maximum of 45 minutes in terms of a stint right now. You know, if you get into an instant lap 1, you are not out of this race.
No, and the thing is, with the 2 mandatory pit stops, it means that anyone that falls foul, You know, could we see potential splash and dashes? You know, an opening stint that may be for a 65-minute race. Okay, yes, we know that we've got 45 minutes of fuel, but maybe if we go a little bit longer on that opening stint, then that means that whoever goes into the car last is going to be that little bit fresher and might be able to give all guns blazing and maybe a bit of a Hail Mary from time to time. But you never know. You're never out of this race. You can't win it on lap 1, but lap 1 can certainly decide how the race pans out.
And it's never a bad decision to go through. You've effectively got 20 minutes of window to go and work with in this race to decide where do I want 20 minutes here and there. And it will depend actually a lot as we watch this warm-up here with about 7 minutes before we jump to it. Ryan Fuqua there for Hyperion Racing. You normally see the Hyperion cars out there in prototype spec. So to see them in GT spec going out there and having a battle, you almost have to adjust your eyes a little bit with this team because Hyperion are so good in LMP2 in iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, also Brandon Williams, who runs in GTPs in another championship, is a very, very fast pedaler. And for that, they use the good old BMW M8 hybrid as well. So it's nice to see them take on the GT3 challenge as we see Ryan Fuqua, a little bit wide going through turn 1. Then it's downhill through the slight kink at 2 and into this sweeping right here at 3, down the gearbox, third gear, 80 miles an hour, now on the power. And then heading into the Marine sweep towards turn 5.
Yeah, you can see is definitely cranking the steering wheel for a bit of temperature. Yeah, you're on camera, mate, to show off what you can do as you work through. Now, he'll have an interesting position here, Will Fuqua, because he had to really fight in that race to get anything of what he wanted. He started 8th overall. He ended up finishing 22nd, which means the way that it works for how they grid up for the Master race, he will start 22nd.
Yeah, it's always about that, putting everyone into this kind of challenge situation that if you don't quite work it out in the sprint, you've got the 65-minute master race. But then when we get to that point a little bit later on the season where we're going to have our endurance race at the world's centre of racing, Daytona Speedway, on the 18th of January. That will be a 90-minute race. No sprint, no master. It's a flat-out 90 minutes. And thereby, that will be that along with the season finale, which, funny enough, heads to Silverstone on April 12th. So 2 endurance races, but the sprint and the master races where you've really, really got to knuckle down and get all your ships in order, so to speak.
You absolutely do, and actually I want to just point out to race control at the moment because it wasn't a day without incident, but no penalties came through, and I think the reason why is I'm just looking down at the penalty control sheet that we get here, Alex, and I am seeing 20 penalties that had to be looked at over the course of 25 minutes. No race control under the sun could make all those decisions in that time.
Yeah, 100%. That's why they're going to have an even busier time, I think, over the 65-minute race. But also, there's another thing that we need to talk about. There's a championship. There's 3 different championships. It's a bit like GT World Challenge Europe. You've got the Sprint Championship, you've got the Master Championship, the Endurance, and the Overall. So you've got 4 titles in one series. That's where drivers like Kevin Maillard, who took the opening win for Impact Sim Sports in GT3 AM, has set the 285 on the right course forward.
Yeah, and when they're playing with the variable amount of sprints that there are, the variable master races, and then the feature that will come in, those different championships will add up to overall. Everyone wants overall crown honours, but if you're able to steal an honour and say, I'm the best at this style of racing, you definitely can't complain with the way that that will go out with racing out there. But it was all about patience at the front. I think the front was very well behaved at that race with Van der Frijp, Lenaway, Torchio, Mills, Zwaggy and Terho. I think they were all playing a very nice game. So when we got to the mid-pack, it was very, I would say, elbows out, strong style racing because you only got 25 minutes to make your moves. When you add the extra 40 minutes on top of that now, you say it's 65 and you've got to pit. Do you think the mentality, Alex, is that drivers are going to calm down a little bit? They're going to maybe be a little bit more selective with how they make their moves?
That depends on the situation, because if there's a team that needs to put everything at it, then they've got to go for it.
No, you're absolutely right in that regard. So if they have to go for it, you will certainly sit down and say, look, I've got to get everything done and get it done earlier. I look at Ian Anderson, for example, here, the driver representing the Faroe Islands, and there's only about 25,000 people on the Faroe Islands. So to say, I am Mr. Faroe Island sim racing, he's going, right, I've got to carry everything on my back and make this work in this next race. Well, so we sit with that and we'll go through. Hyperion Racing is then with the fastest lap in this warm-up session at the moment. Ryan Fuqua then putting the first time down on the board. And this is the last chance to get an understanding of what the car will be like. So you'll get a look at, say, how the fuel's going to be there, who's going to be jumping up and saying, right, this is where my pace and strategy is. There's Sven Shabansi, who ended up in all sorts of troubles there for the NJB Performance 2198. So another driver who will be looking at today thinking, right, anything I can in this feature race that will be coming on through, knowing that they've got a lot to try and uncover and deal with then from today. And Roberto Kovac then for Absolute Motorsport Acelith. It's a team that definitely does punch above its weight from time to time. Absolute Motorsport, they've done very well in series like the Ivor Endurance Series there, the 166, looking to get some Pro-Am honours, to get more drivers up to the level that they want to be at out there overall. And for Roberto Stefano Kovac, it's a case of 30th to 35th. Still some work then to be done to jump on through. So Alex will be seeing then from certain drivers that they'll use this sim racing Republic GT Open for many different reasons. So some will look at it and say this is a pivot. Some will look at it and say this is to build up some of our driver pool and talent. And for others, this will be about discovery.
Yeah, very much the case. I mean, we are seeing all the time in the ever-developing world of sim racing, you see some absolutely rapid drivers come through the ranks, and sometimes it can be at that point where you just don't expect it. You just think, okay, where did he spring from? And every single driver has a journey that they go on. Some will find it easier than others. Some will pick things up rather quickly. You can throw one driver into any particular class here on iRacing, be it Formula Fords, Skippy Barbers, GT3s, GTPs, IndyCar, anything, and they will take to it like a duck to water.
They absolutely will. Warm-up then is about to find itself concluded, and they'll have an hour and 5 minutes to put on the clock and 2 mandatory pit stops required. So on the grid, Ryan van der Grijp, who won it from pole in the sprint, will now lead the Masters from the front with his main rival behind him, Corbin Lenaway, for company on that front row. It will then follow in the pro category with Alessandro Torchio, as we're just about to get it up through. Sorry, I will correct myself. Yes, Torchio will be going from third, and Daniel Mills will be fourth in the category going forward. Nuzwagi will be starting the number 74 car then in P number 5, with Antti Terho and Davide Pezzi 6th and 7th. Frank Cook will be 8th ahead of Oye Hugo and Michele Velazzi, who will round out the top 10. The top 10, all of this field, part of the pro division. Trevor Vavroski from 16th, Diego Nicholas 20th, and then they've all got to work hard to get up here. So Ryan Fuqua, Dylan Platt, Stein Handgraaf was one of them, as well as Marcelo Caserta, who needs to jump up. Luke Wallace will go from 40th, 42nd for Ian Anderson, and then you got Nick Davis in 44th and Camden Craft all the way down in the 47th position. So work to do, and as well, Ale Torres, who didn't take the start, will effectively be given 48. So Pro-Am then is with Alex Goldschmidt.
Well, sprint race winner Dan van Zutphen will lead the way. Niels Boukhagen will be alongside him on row 6. Row 7 will be completed by Johan Neshev and Thomas Dunn. Nicholas Larsen starts 15th with Sven Landgraf rounding out the top 17. Miloslav Sotirov and Michael Teichmann will line up alongside each other on row 12. Row 14 will have the 126 of Stefan Jones and the 102 of Mika Högström. Then Callum Jones will start 29th, Daniel Dorscheid 32nd, Thomas Seyfarth, Joppy Simmons, Roberto Stefano Kovac, Mike Schmidt, Max Kraus, Marvin Bear starts 39th, Alessandro Vanozzi starts 41st, ahead of Sven Schobensi, and then Julian Dimitrov rounds out the GT3 Pro-Am class in 45th. And over to you, Jake, for the GT3 AMs.
Yep, and they are pretty up there as far as it goes. 18th and 19th for Maillard and Loskatov. 21st for Luke Sloats in that position. Gareth McRae will start from 26th with Marcel Nürnberg, who was last of the finishers on, or second last of the finishers on the lead lap, is in 38th. And Richie Chowan then will have to go from 46th. Try and jump up the order. They will pace then this half a pace lap behind the BMW safety car that works itself through with the wonderful iRacing colours on it. It's the brand new safety car out there taking over from the Porsche first safety car, which was introduced into iRacing at the dawn of Porsche style racing back in 2019. So it's been a long time since we've had a number of safety cars out there. Of course, we also had the sedan safety car that came through in 2022, but they now know they've got to set themselves up for this hour. Corbin Lenaway would have felt like in that first race he had Van der Grijp in his grasp and he just let him slip. So he's looking now for any opportunity to try and pull himself back into a case of, can I make this master mine out there at the moment? So waiting with the pace as they go. They can't go until they reach that start line and get the launch that they need. So keep an eye out then as the green flag will drop, but they will have to wait for the line before they can start hitting the power at 100 kilometers an hour. Now they will get the launch and they will get the clearance underway. Little slow there by Corbin Lenaway to get up to speed, and so Alessandro Torchio has a great chance. They're going to lean on each other through the opening corner. Torchio gets the clearance and up into second.
Yeah, big developments in GT3 Pro-Am. Kevin Maillard is in the pit lane. So he's all the way down the bottom of the order and has just exited out of it. So that's gone from great to absolutely diabolical for Impact Sim Sport. So Kevin Maillard is going to have to do, as we would like to say, in top gear from the rear as they all flood their way Noah's Ark style from around about 5th backwards into turn 5, and it's a dive and a half, and you're going to see a few drivers going off coming out of that exit out of turn number 5 into turn 6. It's side by side, and bit of a wiggle, but the Mustang makes it through. Great work.
Swaggy fends off Antti Terho, then Frank Cook watching on from behind, and the long way around. That could be 2 places for Baukage, who's now got himself to the lead of Pro-Am at the start of this race with 1 hour and 5 on that clock, and that's worked well. McRae now in control of category by the looks of things then, as there's been a huge shake-up. Caution's out, and it's a big spin as the caution does, because Petsy ends up turning around, contact with Michele Velazzi, but a big incident has happened in the middle, and they are all going to try and keep themselves out of trouble. Petsy going to go then for the chicane for the bikes, but it looked like a huge accident has happened in the middle of the field, and I think a lot of the AMs have been caught up with it. I think Sloats has been caught up in it.
Benozzi, Davis and Kovac all in pit lane, Jake. Those are the 3 casualties I've spotted already. Daniel Dorscheid has dropped 5 places. Marvin Bear up 7. So that is, I don't like the sounds of what might be coming on a replay very, very shortly.
I don't either, and lap 1 is always the most dangerous out there, so we'll take a look. This is Ivan Loskatov. I think this is why, because look, he gets turned around, and then suddenly his teammate goes with him. They're down on the inside, and then look, his teammate comes back across the circuit, and it's carnage.
Oh.
Just couldn't catch the angle of it there, but that's the big scare. Full caution has been thrown, so they go and work that. So this is Luke Sloats' view of it. So Sloats here gets the tack as they all try and work themselves around, but that's the biggest scare that you have. Goes across the circuit and then bang, there's the chain reaction. That's where you go, thank goodness it's sim racing. That's why we've got a safety car. Yeah, because it was Kovac that made a big, big impact. That was the car that got its front end completely detonated after a hit, just by trying to avoid what was going on. And it's never... Chauvin-C also involved in that. Again, the 198 has not had
a day to remember, and that just goes to show how quickly things can turn. But there are still 5 more overall rounds of this championship left to go. So, yeah, Nick Davis, Sven Schobensi, Alessandro Vanozzi, Roberto Stefano Kovac, Luke Slutz and Ivan Luskatov also in pit lane now. And I think there's probably going to be a few more other casualties that will be entering pit road very shortly, Jake.
Yeah, and it will all be reviewed after the race, that incident. But here's my next question. They're all behind the safety car at the moment with Van der Rijp there. If you're at the back, would it count if you're under caution conditions for one of your mandatory stops? I would say yes.
Yeah, this could help the likes of Kevin Maillard, who won in GT3 AM in the sprint race. Yeah, I think if you're lower down the order, if you're GT3 Pro, GT3 AM, if you can try and undercut, then that might work to your benefit. I mean, we're what now? 5 minutes into this 65-minute race. Any chance to roll the dice, you've got a free pit stop coming your way.
Yeah, and because it's happened so early, it might actually influence this to be a little bit earlier on strategy for those. If they know they've only got 1 compared to 2 stops out there, that could be a huge shake-up in a race like this. Van der Rijp again, just talking himself through, I think, with some of his manatee drivers who are helping him out there. So he'll be looking at this going, this is what I've got to do. Now, here's a look. This is Mike Schmidt's perspective of this. So Karoff on the right, Karoff's on the left, and look, it's just a free-for-all. You just got to close your eyes, hope that it's all going to go away. And then, look, it happens again. A lot more going through the next corner. You're waiting for the yellow to come out. It does. Mike Schmidt having a panoramic view of everything going in front of him. That's one of those where you just close your eyes and pray it stops before you get there. Yeah,
and just hope that everything goes your way. And for Mike Schmidt, it definitely did so in the 104 car, who now runs P16 in GT3 Pro-Am. So the list of well, Luke Slutz has come out of pit lane. Loskatov, Stefano Kovac, Wallace, Vanozzi, Schobensi and Davis are all still in there, and there was significant damage. So that's going to be probably, you know, if they've got like 10, 15 minutes of damage.
Yeah.
The thing is that are they going to say, well, we might still have an opportunity at points, but if you're in GT3 AM, okay, if you get that car out there, you're still going to score, because there's only, what, 6 in class? But when it's GT3 Pro, GT3 Pro Am, there's a bigger rationale that's got to be brought into play.
So, I think I've got the understanding of what's going on here with Niels Boekhagen leading the Pro-Am division. It's the understanding that pit window opens after 5 minutes, so that will mean that drivers who are out there and looking at it, well, they can pit anywhere, I believe, between 1 hour and 5 minutes to go in the racing, but pit entry is closed under these conditions, so they are going to have to make a stop out there on their own. But this caution period, because they're doing nearly 4 minutes on a lap in pacing condition right now, I think the big key is going to be this right here. They are going to be saving a lot of fuel. They will not have to put much in if they filled it up to full to start this race.
Yeah, I think probably more than likely, as you say, Jake, you know, the laps we're seeing 356, 355, 359. It is a case of just, you know, just maximise that fuel saving. And once we go green, I would say most teams will probably be thinking, okay, when do we stick the fuel in? Second pit stop. Because you want to gain that little bit of an advantage in that main first stint before you get the car in and see if another driver is going to take over.
Now the drivers are being allowed to warm up those tyres and get themselves up to speed. There is Gareth McRae, who is leader now of the AM category division, so he'll be very happy. I think Choan's actually down in the pits. I wonder whether he's entered a closed pit, and that might actually cause him a few troubles out there in his category. So this is now how it looks. Van der Rijp in control. Second is Torquio, and then Corbin Lenaway third. We'll take another look. So Luke Slutz here. I think this is going to be where it happens in front, and that's where McRae takes the hit. So he gets a massive shunt in the back. That's why he's got the damage, and then Sloats fails to put the brakes on, and everybody then shuffles. I think one of the Hyperion cars there of Wallace, I believe it was, then goes off, and then scatter. Everybody scatters.
It's like Skittles all of a sudden. Just noticed on the race control decision sheet that Luke Slutz and Ivan Luskatov have got a pit lane infringement penalty, 5-second rule violation, and Luke Slutz under investigation for a safety car infringement, overtakes car 212, which was Richie Chauhan, whilst entering the pit lane.
Oh, that's going to hurt, and what will also hurt for the Sprint Championship, I've just got word that Alessandro Torchio has got a post-race 15-second penalty from that first race for excessive speeding under full course yellow. So that will certainly hurt as that goes. So we'll keep an eye out on any penalties that come through start incidents, infringements, speeding, responsibilities of the like. There'll be a lot of them that will come out from it. So they'll be looking at this pace saying, look, we're going to need to get underway and racing again. The lights I just can see here from Corbin Lenaway and that Impact SimSport number 6 off on top of the pace car, which means we will be going back to running and racing here from Road America at the end of this, but they have ticked a fair few laps off here in this one compared to what they would have needed to do anyway. So imagine this, they've shaved off quite a few. Now they've got a lot that they can uncork and understand.
Oh dear.
Backwards. That's Lenaway backwards.
Oh, I think he's just overspun the tyres, warming them up, and the Impact SimSport car comes to a stop. Just watch your rejoin, lights up the rears,
You'll have to
spins
go
at 180. That was nicely done by Corbin Lenaway on the rejoin, kept it out of drama.
He's only got himself to blame. I'm not sure he's allowed to overtake, but I think he'll have to out there. So he spins it around, and he does well, actually, to get over across the circuit then and off. So they will be back to running, but Corbin Lenaway, I think, overtook under the yellow flag. So I think he's going to get dinged for a penalty for it because he's not allowed to overtake and do that. They crossed the line, and now they're allowed to go and get up to pace. It is a good jump then by Van der Grijp over Torchio and Daniel Mills there in third, but a dramatic look on the restart, and Corbin Lenaway looking quite ordinary there.
He's down now in 15th position, so he's really got to try and gather it back up again as we go green once more. And now it's up through up towards the Moraine Sweep as they go under the Stefano Cheese Bridge, Sargento Cheese Bridge. And so again, it is just about watching, having a watching brief. Here goes a dive up the inside of Swaggy by Antti Terho in the Def Sim Racing in the number 7 car. That was a great move by the Acura, timed it perfectly, and it was neat and clean all at the same time.
Blocked it up on the apex, and so there was nowhere for Swaggy to go, and now Frank Cook watches on with this at the moment. Fastest lap, by the way, is in the hands of Ivan Loskatov at this moment in time, so that just shows you that they haven't had a full lap of anger out there. Thomas Dunn looking around at this with Trevor Vavroski. Lenaway has dropped a lot further back. Oh, we got big issues back there around Ryan Fuqua and co.
Yeah, Dylan Platt's dropped in the number 5 car in the Lion GP entry, and that Mustang has had to wait a very, very long time. He rejoins in 39th as someone else has just got off. That's one of the Hyperion cars, and there is a Rogue McLaren losing its back end, and it's Stefan Jones into the barriers.
Yeah, Jones tagged around there. We saw it with Ian Anderson. There's Marvin Baird, look with the very damaged front right now of his Mercedes. He's going to have to work to find himself an angle to not get run over. Now into Canada corner, and again one of the Sendit cars goes off, and that's Loskatov.
Oh, after repairing all that damage, the back end of that BMW M4 GT3 Evo took an absolute pounding in that lap 1 incident. And now Loskatov finds himself all the way down 4th in class, and Kevin Maillard is there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, Maillard then up to 5th, or try and move up to 4th, sorry, in category McRae. 8 seconds clear of Nürnberg out there at this stage. Up the hill comes the drive and over towards turn number 1. The chance then is needed at this moment. Can there be a simple find of this move, or will it have to be a wait to turn number 3? Here goes Maillard with a search, but it's only a sortie towards that inside. Nothing dramatic out there as Corbin led away by example a little bit further back. He's trying to lunge down the inside of Trevor Vavrovsky, easily gets that path. He's right down behind Neshev and Vilazzi and Don von Zutphen.
Yeah, and von Zutphen got through on Vilazzi quite easily there, so the Maniti Racing Pro-Am entry that won the sprint race earlier on now has clear air between himself and the 197 of Niels Balkhager in the Lamborghini.
Oh,
and,
look at this.
This is round the outside, and he's got it.
Yeah,
just.
Yeah, only just. He's got the pass on Daniel Mills, and there's not much that Aston Martin could have done there in comparison to the Acura making its progress. So Mills got an okay run. He left the door open at the carousel, and ultimately, I'll pay my money, I'll take my ride, and I'll get my 3rd place. A lovely pass done on Daniel Mills. And Mills right now, we're having a little clip there with the helmet as he tries to work through the corner here. Mills now back into 4th after being up as high as 3rd here in this one. Now Antti Terho can set his sights on Tokyo and your leader, Von der Grijp.
Yeah, there's been dramas for Antti Terho's teammate, Ian Anderson. In the number 8.
Niels Balkhager then is going to make his first stop of the race, and he's got to be very careful up over the top of the hill that he doesn't speed into pit lane. He was lucky that he didn't, but that's his first of 2 stops.
Yeah, as I was saying, Ian Anderson from Def SimRacing Pro has ended up dropping down the order. So, don't know what's happened to the number 18 car, but Antti Terho with a great audacious move on Daniel Mills in P3 in GT3 Pro. So Balkhager now starting. The car will be on its marks in pit road, and it's going to tumble him down the order quite significantly, but this could be his strategy, maybe to do an early undercut on the rest of the field as Dan van Zutphen retakes the lead in Pro-Am.
He does. I'm getting word as well that Luke Sloat and Ivan Loskatov, both for those pit lane infringements, are both going to get slow zone penalties out there. So that is going to mean they're going to have to take a different area of the track that is slightly slower compared to those out there. But Balkhager now will fall back down behind Sven Shabansi then in terms of this race. So that will be a long way back by comparison. That's about 33rd overall that he will drop back to at this stage. Lenaway is going to be absolute red mist descending, all out, go get moves. He's by Vilazzi, he's by Neshev. He'll now try and eye out Dan van Zutphen here to get by because he knows he's got a motor. The mistake was only his own under relatively calm conditions.
Yeah, I mean, he's up 6 places from where he started when we went back to green flag. He was 15th, and he's now closing in on 8th position as he's hard on the brakes behind the Maniti Racing Pro-Am entry of Dan van Zutphen from the Netherlands, who is doing a sterling job, I have to say, along with number 78, Ryan van der Grijp, in the overall race lead, who's ahead of Alessandro Torchio in the number 73 car. Antti Terho, let's keep an eye on the flying Finn in the number 7 Acura. He is closing that gap and was over 3/10 quicker in the previous tour, but there is Callum Jones.
Callum Jones around final corner, trying to do a 1,000,000-point turn to get himself back up to racing speed. So that really hurts. Here comes the look down the inside. Von Zutphen leaves all the room for Corbin Lenaway. A big thank you as he goes by for Corbin, because that's actually quite clever for Dan, who actually works as a commentator. He's done a little bit of commentary over in the Netherlands, over at Zandvoort, for example. He'll be looking to try and use the likes of Corbin Lenaway to get away from Johan Neshev out there, to piggyback up to that next group. There's Davide Pezzi, who's also trying to jump up through the order and cannot quite get the pass done is necessary then to get that through. You've got Sven Landgraf there and Trevor Vavrovsky, so that's where they sit in their line at the moment. It's now jump up, get up to the front and do what you can to make this race accessible. Nicholas then seeing a little search, a sending party to the inside of Petsy, not going to make that happen. And then on the back of this, in 16th, is your AM leader, Gareth McRae. So they're all trying to work hard through the carousel and heading to the king.
Yeah, one of the other things, I mean, we saw Gareth McRae, he'd gotten himself up into the top 15 overall. And with a car that has 11 kilos of ballast, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, he is punching above the additional weights that the ballast is providing on that Mustang. As we see here, Petsy versus Wawrowski. Petsy still ahead. Also, the good news for Dan van Zutphen is that Michele Vilazzi is between him and Johan Neshev, as Nicholas again trying to get through on Wawrowski, who's making it as wide as humanly possible. There is some damage to the right rear of that car as Wawrowski dives down pit road.
Yeah, the boot was punched in there on the right-hand side, so Wawrowski really having to deal with a car that wants it to kick up. So he'll come in for his stop, no shocks. Here comes Terho, though, straight to the inside of the Mustang there of Alessandro Torchio. 07 can't do anything about that. Anti-Terho jumps up, and now it's 1.8 to chase down to Von der Grijp, and Terho was waiting for an excuse to get by, and he's just found it.
Yeah, and based on the previous lap, Terho went over a 1/10.5 quicker than Von der Grijp at that moment. So now he's got clear air. Now he can start chasing down. And look, he's already gapping Torchio by about a car length and a half. The gap is around about 3.5 tenths of a second. So that
accurate. A big one here. Sorry, just got a penalty. It's come in, and it's your AM leader, Gareth McRae. He's got a slow zone penalty.
Oh, and that was for minor contact responsibility for what happened on that melee we saw heading into turn 5 on the opening lap. So not at all a surprise there, but if you make that slightest glancing blow and it causes a chain reaction like that one did, then I'm not surprised that he's got dinged with a slow zone penalty.
Well, it's just like what happens when you have an accident on the motorway, Alex. Last one in pays the insurance claim.
Exactly. So, it's always blame the person at the back, and Gareth McRae was at the back of all that madness that happened and did cause it. So the slightest glance, that's it. It causes you a big, big drama. But the thing is, between himself and who's second, Marcel Nürnberg, 10.6 seconds behind.
So I think this is going to be where it's quite telling to see whether Gareth McRae here is going to still come out with the race lead or not, taking the slow zone out there. A black flag for Luke Sloats, who failed to serve the slow zone. McRae serves it now, so you have to do it at pit lane speed on the front stretch, and I believe the slow zone is up to the line. So you're getting a good example of what a slow zone penalty is. There's nothing else like it in sim racing right now. It is a Sim Racing Republic own run as he goes through. I think you've got to do the entirety of the straight before you get up, and now finally up to speed again. And with Nürnberg in the pits, he's going to get away with it for now.
Yeah, and, well, all I'm going to say is this. Hold the phone, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your soft drink of choice and the popcorn that you like, whether it's salted caramel or sweet, because Maillard is now back up into P2, and that gap is now 3.8 seconds.
It is, and so the chase down is going to be needed. We focus here with Freight Cook here in the number 79 Manatee Racing Pro car at the moment, with Norzwagi just in front. Mills there, and a bit of side-by-side as Yuppie Simmons is going to try and find a way through. Simons then to that inside. The South African, only South African in this race, is going to see beside him Kevin Maillard and then Callum Jones. So the two Joneses together, Callum and Stefan, out there at the moment. Either side of this group, the CSA car leaves the room, so Stefan can go and chase after his Jones compatriot Callum.
Yeah, so, but still, we've got Max Kraus just up the rear bumper of Thomas Seyfarth in the number 195, and that is one of the teammates of, I think, if I remember correctly, Niels Balkager. So again, we've got this really, really interesting battle developing here. Now, Max Krause in the Evolution SimSport Red Mustang is having to deal with that 11 kilos of ballast. They both power out of the final corner. And one of the characteristic things here at Road America is this slight incline on the main start-finish straight as they will cross the line to complete lap 10. But Max Krause trying to get that slipstream, but it's not quite working. Look, he's losing time to Zayfarth on the start-finish straight, and the gap was half a second coming out of the final corner, and going into turn 1, it was 7.5 tenths.
And one of the reasons why is the weight. The other reason will be the profile. That Mustang is such a high-level car. It's built big and bulky like a brick, so it punches this massive hole. It's more like an arrow when you've got that Lamborghini, Alex, and so you're not actually getting the most efficient slipstream from the Lamborghini.
No, and I mean, especially when you look at cars that have their noses a lot lower down, like, say, the Acura, like, say, the McLaren. The Mercedes, not too dissimilar in terms of its front profile, but not as quite highly stacked as that of the Ford Mustang. So, as you said, Jake, like, aerodynamically designed like a brick, but still, it has a lot of air breathing in to that 5.4 litre V8. So, there's a lot of air rushing into it, but there's not a lot of speed rushing out the back axle.
No, there very much isn't. You'd say at this moment, any pit stop from now gets you home with the 45-minute tank they've got, the 75% restriction they've got on it. The key, though, is pretty much everyone's got 2 stops to make, so it's when and where. And I think a lot of drivers think about this as strategy. They'd love to go and run the tank dry, and then I would say supple up 2 10-minute stints at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that front, because it's not going to be that easy as well. But meantime, Ryan van der Hype is leading by nearly 3 seconds as Alessandro Torchio in the 07 Racing number 73 Mustang is closing the gap to Antti Terho. And then you see Daniel Mills, Noah Zwagi, Frick Kukuk as well in that battle. Oya Hugo, Corbin Lenaway now 3.5 seconds behind the number 12 Ionesis Esports Aston Martin. You can see the gap differential between the two Astons, but this is where Antti Terho, I think, has now become the proverbial cork in the bottle as Kevin Maillard comes in for Impact SimSports, the Ignite squad, to serve his first pit stop of the race.
Gareth McRae is also in, so they've come in at exactly the same time to make their stops. Thomas Zayfarth is also down in pit lane right now for the NJB Performance. Lamborghini is out there. Zwagi then working hard. 07 have all made the call. We like the Mustang, and I'm not surprised when the Mustang is the best out there on iRacing normal balance of performance. Most people gravitate to the best car, so I'm not surprised to see them staying with that Mustang, even with the penalty, because they've got the confidence under the car.
Yeah, and when when the Mustang first came out on iRacing, I remember the amount of times that people were struggling with the back end more than anything on the cars. It was more a case of just stick with it. As now we see Gareth McRae, he returns as Luke Slutz now takes the lead in GT3 Pro-Am in the 248 entry. So it is going to be the Am entry side of things. My apologies there for the Simit Esports Racing. And his teammate Loskatov is now P2. Marcel Nürnberg for the Firefly. Yeah, so it is going to be the case that Slutz and Loskatov, who had to have those earlier pit stops because of what happened earlier on, and despite that black flag, Luke Slutz has come out slightly smelling of roses, but we've still got 37.5 minutes to go. So, roller coaster awaits here at Road America? Yes, please.
It does. I'm more pointing out the fact that Marcel Nürnberg has already made a stop in this race, so he is 21 to the good right now, and he'll be very happy with that early pit stop. Working over towards turn 5, goes Frank Cook. looking for a way outside line, covered off defensively by Nuzwagi there, and he moves across back lane onto the racing line to take the corner naturally there through turn 5. Cook, nothing he can do about it, except can he muster something up to get the pass. So you're going to see this. These cars have slipstream from the car in front, the car in front, the car in front. I think it's going to take one brave driver to effectively stick his head above the parapet and say, right, pit stop time.
Yeah, they've got to really, you can roll the dice and either get snake eyes or it could be lucky number 7 for some drivers, but look how tight Cook was there going through the carousel. That's commitment. He kept it all the way through the apex where a lot of people were trying to stay away from the inside curbing. And it's helping the Maniti Racing Pro number 79 car to get that little bit closer.
Yeah, so that number 79 wants a way to jump through, wants to find that opportunity, but they're all pretty much level with each other right now, with Mills, with Torquio, with Anti-Terho leading the chase at the moment. Von der Kreit having a wonderful day here at this Road America circuit. No one's been close to him, 2.7 seconds. The margin is they head up towards Heartbreak Hill, and I wasn't expecting that. 1, 2, 3, jump in. Mills leads them with Cook and Hugo jumping in for the pits.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's trying to cover each other off as Dan van Zutphen in the number 179 car from Maniti Racing Pro Am yet to do a pit stop. This is lap number 14 of his stint, so we're seeing a lot of drivers coming in. I mean, Luke Slutz has been out now on for 3 laps. And more to the point, it is just a case of, as you rightly said, Jake, earlier on before we got this master race underway, how long are these drivers going to stick this stint out for? Because they'll be watching that fuel mileage with like eagle-eyed hawks, just thinking, okay, right, I've got to try and do maybe a little bit of lift and coast. Maybe I can get myself to maybe the 20-minute window. You never know. And if they do decide to go for a shorter middle and last stint, that could be the difference between winning and losing right here at Road America. As Oya Hugo now comes out of pit lane, teammate Diego Nicolas in pit lane now off his marks and will trundle at pit lane speed to the exit.
2 black flag penalties, one for Marcel Nürnberg, the other for Richie Chowan, both in the AM category. So for Firefly E-Racing, that's a big hit that goes through. There's a car taking a slow run over the top of the hill. That's Ivan Loskatov out there in the 249. So he's got a slow zone that I believe he's just taken. And then there'll be 2 slow zones for car 195. That's Thomas Seyfarth who will have to take those.
Oh, well, fall from grace there for the 195. So that's not going to be, that's going to be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. Ivan Loskatov, in the meantime, closing in on a few other cars in front. But again, the Simit Esports Racing team, they've had their dramas in this race, whilst Luke Slutz still leads. And that's going to put his teammate, when Marcel Nürnberg serves that black flag penalty, that will promote Loskatov up to P2. So Simit Esports will have the ruling of the roost so far in GT3 AM.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm getting word a post-race 30 seconds will be added to Nicholas Larsson's race after overtaking multiple cars under safety car and wrecking another car out there. So for Nicholas Larsson, that is a slam dunk of all slam dunks. So that is going to put him way down the order then for what he is hoping for. Larsson, by comparison, at this moment in this race, is currently running in 15th, or was running 15th, or is still, or now out of the race in 43rd. So that will effectively be 30 seconds on his 9 laps down. So he'll be as many laps down and 9 seconds. Norzwagi leaves pits.
Oh, that's got a smart as well. I mean, when they say that penalties can be draconian, Jake, they definitely are not mucking about. They're saying to these drivers, right, this is what we expect, and if you cause a little bit of havoc, well, something's going to come your way, and it's going to come in the form of a penalty.
Yeah, Swaggy's come out of the pits with Freight Cook, Corbin Lenaway then is right with it as well. Lenaway actually in that stop has actually taken a little bit less fuel, I think, because he's just jumped Oye Hugo in the stops, and I think this is really clever from Corbin. He'll have to pay the Pied Piper back later on in this race as Hugo has a little look. Aston versus Aston, and the advantage then for the blue Aston Martin Vantage in front. But you're looking at this from Corbin Lenaway. The strategy is get into the train, save the fuel, and then hopefully have a good final stop.
Yeah, and it's that journey, that pathway that is kind of unwritten as Dan Van Zutphen now pits from the lead.
Top 3 all in.
Yeah, and now that's the leader for Pro-Am now in as well. So it's about how you measure this journey, because we all know that every single lap can be different. You know, a different apex taken, a different wider line coming out of corners, different acceleration points. You've got to be very much consistent with your strategy and also your race pace performance. Yes, we've had qualifying earlier on, but that's for going all out guns blazing. Here in the race, you've got another however many cars in your category, let's say for instance nearly 20 apiece in GT3 Pro and GT3 Am initially, and then you've got those other cars that are going to be at the bottom end of the field that are going, well, we've got our own race to run, folks, so we're going to do what we think is best. Anti-Terho with that undercut strategy
That's
is
a
now
heavy undercut.
That's a bit, that's massive.
It is, it's huge. Van der Rijp's only just left pits, Torquio as well, and all those you pitted earlier got stuck behind Luke Sloat, who is out there right now by net position, hasn't made his stop, so to speak, because he's had penalties. So now you're looking at it, Daniel Mills, one car in the middle, absolutely ruins the undercut, and suddenly they're behind Van Zutphen, they're behind Torquio, they're behind Van der Rijp by even more.
Yeah, so it's just going to be the case of how you negotiate these next 30 minutes, because at the moment, Jake, I can't pick a winner in any single one of these classes because it has just been so close, and you've got inter-class battles as well, which is not helping things, as Daniel Mills nearly gets a little touch from behind by Noor Zwaggy, who's right with him. And then we've got the Maniti Racing Pro 79, Freak Cook right with them. So this is the battle for 4th place in GT3 Pro. They've got Luke Sloots and Dan Van Zutphen a little bit further up the road. I mean, Daniel Mills is 3 seconds behind the number 248, who's leading in the AM side of things. So this battle here is going to get very close for comfort very shortly as they make their way through the kink and head towards Canada Corner at a big rate of speed. This could get nasty all of a sudden.
Oh, trying to get both of them. Door left open by Dan as he went through, so Daniel Mills can sit behind and say that's okay. Luke Sloats is holding his own at the moment. Swaggy, Cook, Lenaway and Hugo all want to find their way through. Now into turn 14. Oh, and nowhere to go for Noor Zwaggy. Got too close, and suddenly, where are you going to find the angle? Corbin Lenaway is going to try and push his way through then with Freight Cook to try and get through into line. Then goes then Noor Zwaggy, and so he gets his clearance. Side by side then it will be Mills versus Van Zutphen. Van Zutphen lets it go, but now into turn 1. There's too wide, there's too deep. Corbin Lenaway down the inside of Freight Cook. He'll get one. Here comes Noor Zwaggy to come and steal one back. So Oye Hugo can only watch. They're on the inside of turn 3 because turn 2 is a corner here at Road America. A little bit of door-to-door, but normally you'd expect that Mustang to come out best in a contact of tete-a-tete.
Oh, Noah's Ark Styley through that first corner. That was absolutely... I was on the edge of my seat at that point, and it's nearly happening again here through into 5 as Cook up the inside of Swaggy. Swaggy runs wide, and Oye Hugo takes the opportunity, but he's being pushed by the Mustang. Little bit of paint rubbing between the pair, and Oye Hugo makes it through.
Yeah, lovely pass by the Andorra. Nothing Zwaggy can do except watch it. So now Cook's there. Oh, 2 backwards. Callum Jones is one of them, and that's right in the middle. Daniel Dorscheid was the other who's taken the toe to pit. That, I don't think, is a loud toe back. He'll get penalised for it, but if he can't get going, they might throw a safety car for it.
Max Kraus also has struck trouble as well in the number 103 car. So Kraus and Dorscheid both having dramas. Yeah, you might be right there, Jake. I mean, if they do throw a safety car at this point, there won't be any surprise in that at all. But, you know, up until that...
Oh, hello.
Oh.
There's the lunge there. That's Corbin Lenaway jumping Luke Sloat's for position. And then Cook, Hugo and Zawagi now sit. And this is the issue you got. Pros trying to get by amps, different drives you wouldn't normally necessarily see battling amongst each other. It's difficult to work out what their driving style is. You have such a small amount of work to deal with. Drivers have a memory, and that memory comes from who they battle constantly, not who they battle just on the one-off because they're out of position.
Yeah, and it's everyone for themselves at the moment. I mean, forget class order. This is on track as, there we go. Cook gets through, Hugo through, Zawagi now trying at turn 3, and Luke says, well, I don't really want any part of this. You go off, you guys, and have your own battle. I'll sit here and wait. But no, Slute's still with Zawagi right now, and then he's trying to go wheel to wheel with him.
Yeah, it's going to finally lift off, so we'll get a chance to look here at a replay here of what happened. Stefan Jones, by the way, with a slow zone infringement. So this is Callum Jones, the 127, just loses the back end, so gathers it back up on the grass, and here's the issue. He tries to get out of the way, and then, he's just got no traction. He's depositing all the gravel over the circuit and has the laziest tank slapper out there. That is one that hurts more than anything else, because you know that you're just trying to get it back up to speed, but you've got no grip underneath you from the gravel that's picked up on your tyres.
Yeah, it's just going to be so difficult, because we're seeing drivers go off track. We're seeing drivers have dramas, hitting the barriers here at Road America. This has just really set the tone of when you're around a tight circuit like this. It hasn't changed since September of 1955, as Corbin Lenaway tried to do what he can. Oya Hugo, right, so now that is a good decision there by Dan Van Zutphen. He's let Corbin Lenaway go, and now it's going to mean that Cook, Oya Hugo, Noah Zawagi are going to start closing in on the 179. Now there's a big differential between Dan Van Zutphen and Johan Neshev, who were first and second in the sprint race earlier on. The gap is 6 seconds. So at the moment, Van Zutphen is in a very comfortable place. He doesn't need to chance things. He's letting everyone else fight their own battles around him, but that does not stop the likes of Oya Hugo trying to go around the outside. A freak Cook going through into turn 1. He's going to try around the outside again here at turn 3. And can Hugo get the run off? He nearly has. He has a glancing blow on the right rear corner of Cook coming out of 3. Underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge once again, down into the Moraine Sweep, heading into turn 5. Where is Hugo going to place the car? He's looking to the outside once again in that very racy Enisys Esports Aston Martin, but Noah Zawagi has been brought back into this mix. Three-way scrap as Zawagi nearly into the back of Hugo through turn 6 into the hurry downs.
He's pushing, and they're all starting to jump on each other. Cook has got to get to his Pro-Am teammate Van Zutphen out there at Manatee. So he's looking around going, right, I need some help. I need someone to hold on to keep this incredibly quick Andorran behind me, and I am struggling to do so right now. That Aston Martin Vantage is planted through every corner and gets another great launch out of the high-speed section, and so the Vantage now can have a chance to find a way to tunnel and make that pass. Now through the Kettle Bottoms here, this small flick left, he'll be forced to go the long way around a Frank, who now has to defend here at Canada Corner, but he's got the half a car ahead, so corner's his out there overall. But this is what happens. You try and find corner after corner after corner, and you just get mired in I must defend, and suddenly all that ability to keep the pace just vanishes, just absolutely vanishes.
Yeah, and now we see right through the rear diffuser of Freak Cook. There you see the gaping front fascia of that Aston Martin, piloted by the number 12 Enisys Esports Oya Hugo. is jumping at the bit. He needs to make the move. This will put him into P7. Hugo shows his nose into turn 1, and Cook keeps it planted on the racing line for now.
Yeah, he's done well, and it is going to be a case of hold your nerve out there between these three, because patience is a virtue with 22 minutes to go. We are now into sprint style at this moment in your master category race here after the sprint earlier along here at Road America. Everyone fans over to the inside, and it's a late set from Oye Hugo, chucks it in, and you can't get drive on the exit if you break Cook. He nearly had it there up the inside of him, Nordswaggy, but he keeps the nose in at turn 6, Corvette corner, and he is going to try and get the drive, but there is contact as they head to turn 7, and just around the outside, Cook has the chance to bake up an escape as Oye Hugo now is thrown to the wolves of Nordswaggy.
He was on the flashes, very unhappy with Oye Hugo, but when you try and run wheel to wheel like that, if you're on the you're on the receiving end, you are going to get the short end of the stick. And to be honest with you, Oye Hugo did a really good job of hanging on as long as he did, because that could have ended up in bad states for both those drivers, and Noah Swaggy would have been laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, just got word then that Callum Jones, for the incident that we saw earlier on, is getting 3 slowdown penalties in a row. That is going to be a huge hit for his unsafe rejoin onto circuit, and they are going to be really strict about those over the course of this season. You have to join safely back to the racing line. Wide goes Frank Cook through the corner. In comes Nordswaggy for his last stop of the race.
Well, Noah Swaggy, with just over 20 minutes to go, has decided, well, I'll let Oya and Freak just get on with their own thing, and I'll just get myself into a good position. But, I mean, you have to see now, Hugo to the inside. Great move by the Ineos Esports. He finally breaks down the wall with the sledgehammer and makes it stick. But Cook right on his rear, going through into 3. This battle ain't over by a damn long sight.
No, it's not. Frank Cook's not going to sit down idly and say, look, I'm going to let Oye Hugo boss me and tell me what to do. I'm going to want to come straight back, and that drive, that cadence that is there of the AMG Mercedes is one of the best in the higher end, and he just can't get an angle on Oye Hugo. So that is going to hold themselves steady out there at the moment as this gap has opened up through the various elements. My question is, how long is Antti Terho's last stop going to be?
That's going to be the crucial point here, because out of the top 5, which is Terho, Von der Hype, Torquio, Mills, Lenaway, well, Mills and Lenaway have been out for slightly longer, so I would say Mills and Lenaway might be the ones that decide to undercut at the earliest moment possible, but that depends on this man here. Antti Terho, since getting the race lead after that early pit stop, has done a really good job, and he started from P6 on the grid, folks, and now the man from Finland starts to lead the way as well. There we go. Stefan Jones has just received a black flag and is now going in to serve that penalty, whereas Callum Jones is serving his first of what will be 3 excruciating slow zone penalties for the 127 backmarker Racing Green McLaren.
Yeah, but look at that. He can only go as fast as the other Jones there, his teammate, alongside him. So that's a moment. They're split by 1 pit wall at the moment. Back up to speed you both go, and keep yourself out of trouble out there, the pair of you. As Miroslav Sotorov now will dive in. Final stops, starting to put themselves in. Sloat into the pits for a last stop as well.
Yeah, it is coming down to these last 18 minutes as Davide Pezzi doing a really good job in the Corvette for Absolute Motorsport Aceless Racing. They've had quite a few fantastic drivers through their ranks over the years that have gone by in the world of sim racing, and he is closing in on Michele Velazzi and is right with him, as that is one of the Velazzi has a moment out of turn 5. Davide Pezzi has nowhere to go because he's got a backmarker Racing Green McLaren in front of him and a Mustang from 07 Racing staying ahead of him for what is 8th position in the Pro class. But Davide Pezzi with that thunderous roar from that Corvette, that sounds glorious.
It's brilliant there. It is the Z06R out there that is doing so much of the amazing running out there. The GT3R only 4 kilograms on it in terms of weight ballast. So that is basically just imagining that you've got basically a coat of wool in the back of the van that's been chucked in that you got to try and lump around with you for the course of racing. But Pezzi now will try and work to get back by Velazzi, closing down that margin, but not enough to go and make that move as they focus through Canada corner over towards Bill Mitchell Ben, knowing that it's a long gap in front of them to Freight Cook and Oye Hugo. So they know that if they're not going to be dealing with them, it's just going to be themselves that they deal with. Maillard currently in control of GT3 and Torquio into the pits.
So that is going to change things around. So that will promote Oya Hugo, Freight Cook, Michele Velazzi now in pit lane as well. So Velazzi serving his second and final pit stop, but this has just been one of those races where you think, okay, the elbows have been out for the first few laps. And as you rightly said, Jake, when you tell drivers, okay, it's a 65-minute race, lads, need to just be calm. It's been anything but calm here at round 1.
No, it's been absolutely the opposite of that. They've formed their own little packs and they're trying to work for it. Cook still not done out there at the moment by comparison. So this will be as big can get for the final run. There is Ryan von der Rijp. You can see the glare now out there of the light of his screen as he works himself through the corner. Very much a single screen look. You'd see a lot more movement out there if he was on trips, for example, as he looks. Yep, there's the trips, the look over to the left-hand side to say that this is what I've got going on. The light's been flicked on for him in his room right now. He's got a nice little, I would say, normal fan to help him if it ever gets too hot in the summer when he's out there and he's racing. But von der Rijp, I think, he's done nothing wrong all race. Anti's just gone with a massive undercut on his strategy, and he's going to look to try and hold him down. Remember, that gap was about 15 seconds. It's now 11 and a half.
Yeah, and once again with von der Rijp, just that's... Oh, who was that that's just turned round? That was a Mustang, if ever I saw one.
Gareth McRae.
Oh, no. What? Oh, and it's gonna be double bubble for Kevin Maillard at this rate, because Maillard is up to 13th overall. He's been out for 11 laps on this stint, so I would say that Kevin Maillard, who is quite a way ahead, 18 seconds ahead of Luke Slutz for the Simit Esports team. And here we're going to see the replay. Oh, it's going to be a loss of traction, and it's out of the final corner.
Special.
Yeah, it's the Richie Chouhan special. I think also, well, the Chouhan Davis special now add McRae to that list. It's been a race day, I think, for Gareth to forget, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's been tough having all of the cards in your hand and then ultimately finding, I would say, 9 high like a boss is not the way it's needed. Cook then, still waiting for that last stop then in this race, down to 13.5 minutes to go with Oye Hugo in position and looking around saying, what can you do to find it? Another slow zone penalty, I believe, has come in for the 1-2-6 out there, so that'll be one of the Joneses that has picked it up, and it won't be Callum Jones, it'll be Stefan Jones who will have to serve another one of those out there in this race. We note that Yoppie Simons has had one of those as well for a 5-second rule violation out there, and Loskatov as well, I think, is going to be shown, and yes, is shown a slow zone penalty out there for his 5-second rule violation. There's your leader, Antti Terho. Surely he'll be looking at a pit stop around this sort of time, thinking, what more can I do? On cue, in comes the number 7.
So this is going to be make or break for Antti Terho, who at the 12.5-minute mark enters pit lane, the number 7 for Def SimRacing Pro. He's been absolutely wicked fast here today at Road America, and now it's just a case of getting onto his marks, not missing his pit box either, and that's going to be crucial. As you rightly said, they go by cues, through force feedback, through visual cues. So Antti Terho is on his marks in the pit lane, and that means that Ryan van der Rijp, who still has yet to serve his final pit stop, I think he's got to do either 1 or 2 very, very quick laps to try and keep the window between himself and Antti Terho, who I think by the time we have the likes of Mills, because we've got Hugo, Nicholas, Landgraf all in, and again that stoic, stone-faced killer visage on Ryan van der Rijp showcases that he has been full focus, and he's not going to let anything pass him by as Antti Terho rejoins in 6th overall, 4th in class.
Yeah, here's someone who's got a massive jump on everyone else and is looking for it. Van der Rijp now will be looking at this final stop going, how little do I need to take at this final stage? Johan Neshev, by the way, has hit the instant limit of 17. He's got a black flag next to his name, and so he's going to have to come down and serve that within 4 laps, a stop or a drive-through penalty for it. So that will be disastrous for Van der Rijp. It's a case of how good is that stop going to be, because he's looking now at about 50 seconds lane transfer to get out ahead of Antti Terho. It will be close between them, but how close is the question?
Yeah, Antti Terho's total pit lane time was a 1 minute 8.3. So Van der Rijp going for another lap. He will have completed 10 laps in this stint. Antti Terho at the minute is about 52.8 seconds behind in total. And then, well, as we say that, Van der Rijp sets the new fastest lap of the race at 2 minute 1.822. So he is driving it like he stole it at the moment, Jake. But it is a case of how quickly can this man, Antti Terho from Finland, in the number 7 Acura for SimRacing Pro, can he rise to the challenge?
Absolutely. Last time, by the way, I saw Ryan van der Rijp racing, unfortunately, he ended up beached on a curb at Barcelona on the inside heading towards Europe Car Corner. So that was the last time we saw him. A lack of grip as he had to take a toe back, but he's looked absolutely faultless here today at Road America. Noah Zwagi, then, after making his stop, has come out right with, guess who again? Oye Hugo, despite the few laps difference on their stops, exactly where they are. Daniel Mills still in the pits. He now leaves his box and he'll be off and away. He'll come out just behind Alessandro Torchio.
Well, again, and now the Mustangs really got the run on the Aston Martin. They are so close to the pit wall on the right-hand side as Noah Zwagi shows his nose to the outside of Oye Hugo through into turn 1, and that Mustang down the hill can use that additional 11 kilos of ballast, but it's very minimal at best on the brakes. 3rd gear, 80 miles an hour, out of turn 3 and hard on the power. You can hear that supercharger whine from the V8 underneath that long bonnet of that Mustang as he tries to get the slipstream from Oye Hugo in towards turn 5 through the Marine sweep, and he dives to the inside with a crisscross. Noah Zwagi, will he get the job done? Oh, hip check!
Crisscross, and there's the applesauce for Oye Hugo, who takes an absolutely massive shunt into the side and then has to yield that one as the 07 car jumps through and into 8th place in class. So that a massive jump. We still wait for the last stop of Dan van Zutphen and Ryan van der Rijp and Freek Koek. Believe it or not, it's all the Manatee cars leaving it to the 11th hour to stop.
Yeah, and that is going to be very crucial. But look at the lead that Dan van Zutphen has over NJB Performance's Niels Balkhager as the Lamborghini roars its way round the circuit. I mean, it's a wonderful car. But the thing is, Balkhager's got to do everything he can. Freek Koek, another of the Manatee cars. Now, this is his 13th lap of this stint. So the Manetes, like you said, I think it's the old splash and dash to get them across the line and still in the lead of their respective classes. But if they are going to be, I mean, I'm looking at Dan Van Zutphen, he's short-fueled on the previous lap, on the previous pit stop 11 laps ago, Jake. His total time was 52.8 in the pit lane. On his marks, 21.4.
Yeah, that's going to be big, and a post-race penalty will come in for the number 70 of 5 seconds. So Davide Pezzi is going to be hurt with that one after his infringement. Hugo's still continuing to try and get back after the massive hit with Noor Zwagi a lap ago. He's worked well to get into position, but now he's got to figure out whether he's going to get the ability to make this work. Outside line searching it will be for Noor Zwagi, as for Oye Hugo, as Zwagi will have to cover it as they head on in. We know that outside lines work very well for that Aston Martin. He's going to try and cross him over, but he gets a bunch of oversteer as he goes through. Finally, Van der Rijt pits with 6 minutes, 20 seconds remaining.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if Van Zutphen and Cook also decide to pit.
One.
Yeah, so there we go, Van Zutphen. Wait for it, here's the 3. Oh, and Freak Cook was so late on the brakes entering pit lane.
Yeah, he used gravity to his advantage as late as he possibly dared, was perfect on his marks as he went in. Now, Van der Rijt, how good is this final stop? Antti Terho is only working his way through turn 12 right now of Canada Corner. He'll look over towards Bill Mitchell Bend, and we'll see whether it's good enough by Ryan Van der Rijt. They have to take a mandatory amount out there as they look to get themselves running up and over towards this section. Where's the launch from Ryan? Up the hill goes Antti Terho. Nothing on the gaps there, so he didn't take tyres at his stop. It's just a fuel jump. There goes Antti Terho. He's going to go flying by them all. He's going to take the race lead, but it's only a couple of seconds.
Antti Terho has got to now drive it like he stole it, and that's going to be the big thing here. Ryan van der Rijt in the next 5 minutes has got to close what's going to be a 3.7 second gap. Now Dan Van Zutphen has rejoined ahead of Maniti Racing teammate Freak Cook, who are in different classes.
Look what he's in, because he's got Zwagi and Hugo side by side behind. Oh, there's contact! Round goes Zwagi, bang! He's going to go straight across. He avoids the barriers somehow, and he finds himself so far in the corner that our cameras have almost caught his incident.
Whoa, that was nearly up the rear exhaust pipe with the way that camera angle was. I mean, I think from that perspective, I mean, we caught the tail end of it. Hugo and Velazzi made contact. If Hugo was the instigator, that is a penalty coming post-race. And now Hugo's gunning after Cook, who's got colder tyres, let's not forget, because once the cars enter pit lane, those tyres will be cold as anything, like a stove that you just need to crank the gas on. Here's the... Oh, and I think it might be Hugo might be one to blame for that. He tried to turn in, Zwagi was not giving way, and another turn of the steering wheel, and bang, the Mustang went around.
You have to hold your line in a battle. The car on the inside who's got the clearance on you dictates when you can turn. And so if you try and turn in for it, there's nothing you can do. So long as they leave racing room for you on the outside, you've got no leg to stand on in an instant like that. But Oye's not giving this one up. He's a fighter, not a quitter. And Frank Cook then on that outside, there's the lunge down in on the brake, stamps on it right now like he's trying to put his foot through the brake pedal itself. Good move.
Yeah, that was very, very clean there. I mean, coming through the kink and heading in towards Canada Corner, Oye Hugo with a big old runner speed. And that Mercedes really keeping it nice and clean as we've got Michael Teichmann battling away with Thomas Dunn. This is for 7th position. Dunn to the outside. Oh, that was a bit too much commitment from the Blue Chip Racing Mercedes.
Teichmann holding himself steady. Thomas Dunn a little too eager there in that blue and white and black there to get that sorted. So Teichmann can hold. Mike Schmidt as well just in front of them too, curating this star drama of race late on into the final couple of laps then. And it is a day of where you look around for everyone. There's your leader, Antti Terho. He's 4 seconds clear. As far as I can count that, he's good right now. This was just pure strategy that got it done.
Yeah, and it was that first pit stop that made all the difference for the man from Def SimRacing Pro from Finland. I mean, it was just a case of, you know, let the story write itself. If you decide you're going to go for that massive first stint undercut, Terho made it work, but Van der Grijp is going to keep on pushing until that timer runs out, guaranteed.
Yeah, well, he's got nothing else to do except do that. He'll have one lap after this. And so, you know, Alex, you sit down, you look at what he's done, you know, the brow's a little bit more thorough than it was. How has this not gone right?
I think it was just the fact that maybe that Maniti could have brought him in a little bit earlier to counteract Antti Terho's undercut strategy. Because if they'd have said, okay, right, push for 2 laps, get your backside in that pit lane, and we've got a chance. But because they were in, you know, I mean, Antti Terho pitted, I think, what was it, a few, you know, he pitted within the first 20 minutes. So already, as we see, Sotinov and Landgraf going wheel to wheel here. Mustang versus Merc. Oi, 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 oi. Landgraf's kept it pinned in the Mustang. But can he keep the overrun going into Canada corner? He's going to give it a try. Sotinov blocks him beautifully. But Sven Landgraf from Firefly iRacing take a bow. Big bag of stones in the 121 there.
You never go too wide at the kink, and there's the trouble that you find, that often it ends in disaster. Landgraf can't do anything about Soterov, and now behind is Mike Schmidt trying to pick the pieces up. Teichmann's there, Dunn's there. All this on the final lap of the race. You see Barney up there in the tower, waving with what he can, because Antti Terho is half a lap away, compared with Ryan van der Grijp at 3 seconds the margin. Mike Schmidt then sits back there in third in that Sud speed car out there trying to work through. There's your leader working through the hurry down section and in towards turn number 9. Now the long right of the carousel, turn 10 under the Speedville Bridge, and working to say, look, I've done the hard yards. I've done the hard work. Ryan van der Grijp, look out, because this is what I'm capable of doing. It doesn't matter where I start. It doesn't matter I've had to work hard to gain my 3 places. On strategy, I may be king out there, heading to Canada corner. There's one heartbreak hill that will remain after this. Hit your marks. Make sure you run through this corner. 125 kilometers an hour, easy drive out of the exit, and now climb those final couple of corners, because 7 is a lucky number in many different places, in many different circles, and your luck strikes hot when you're at it like this today. Antti Terho up the hill will take the first master of the season at Road Atlanta.
The flying Finn delivers. Van der Grijp takes P2. Torquio will take P3 in the 07 Racing Mustang. Daniel Mills rounds out 4th. Corbin led away despite that drama, but it's double delight for Maniti Racing Pro-Am. Dan Van Zutphen does the double in Pro-Am.
Does it well at Road America and knows with Neil Boathager behind. He pitted early and it didn't quite pay off. No, Johan Neshev, therefore, negative delta by simgear.it. Gets close for it. Luke Sloat is going to win it in AM despite having himself a drive-through penalty and, of course, on top of that, some slow zones to try and take. Teichmann over the line as well. So that sorts it all out. And so that will be brilliant out there in terms of result. But in terms of AM, you look over to Kevin Maillard. He's going to be the one who will be walking out of here probably with overall honours out there in the 285. Great job at the office to sort itself all out. But wonderful was the result of each and every single category. A day in which everything came down to the final moments as the last few drivers here, Alex, make their progress.
Marcel Nürnberg in the Firefly iRacing 209 Mustang will cross the line, takes P3, but what have you spotted?
Sorry, I've got huge news. Car 7, post-race 1 lap penalty, failure to meet pit stop requirement.
Oh, and it means that Van der Grijp gets promoted to double race victory.
It does. So you've got to stop for a certain amount of time. And I think that first stop from Antti Terho wasn't enough on the clock. So Ryan van der Rijp will be effectively your race winner. Terho will take it on track, but will drop the lap and will drop effectively to 31st overall in this race. With van der Rijp winning, Torquio will now be promoted to second and Daniel Mills up to third. It will then follow Lenaway and Diego Nicolas with Oye Hugo in seventh. Frederik Koek will be in 8th ahead of Michele Falazzi, so they'll go 7th and 8th with Davide Pezzi then in P9 in class. Your top 10 in class then will round out with Noor Zwagi with Marcelo Caserta in 11th, then Stein Handgraf and Trevor Vavrovsky then will be there, so it'll be 14th for Antti Terho with Ryan Fuqua then 2 laps down. Dylan Platt and Camden Kraft will be retirees, including Ian Anderson, Luke Wallace, Nick Davis out there, and the non-start, of course, over the page of Ale Torres, who did not get going for today's racing. Pro-Am, a little less controversial.
Well, you say that, Jake, but with regards to Pro-Am, Dan van Zutphen takes a double victory, first in sprint, now in master, but is under investigation for a pit lane infringement for pit stop too short. So these could be provisional as they stand. Niels Baukager rounds out P2, Johan Neshev third, Miroslav Sotirov, Sven Lengraf, Mike Schmidt, Michael Teichmann, who are having a great battle with Thomas Dunn rounded out P7. Dunn finishes 8th ahead of Mika Ergstra and Max Kraus, who also hit trouble earlier on in the race, rounds out the top 10 in the Pro-Am side of things. Then it's Thomas Seyfarth, Joppy Simmons, Marvin Bear, Callum Jones, Sven Schobensee also hit trouble but came across the line 3 laps down. Stefan Jones, Daniel Dorscheid, Julian Dimitrov, Nicholas Larsen, Roberto Stefano Kovac out early due to that early melee going through in towards the first few corners. Alessandro Vanozzi also retiring early in Pro-Am. Back to you for the AMs, Jake.
Where it will be a long day at the office that ends up on top for Luke Slopes. He was up, down, all around and about and found his way back to category. Kevin Maillard will be second ahead of Marcel Nürnberg, who was able to just stave off the charge of Gareth McRae in 4th. Ivan Loskotov will be 5th, and then a lap down for Richie Chauhan, then in that 6th position overall. A huge day at the office for many who are looking to try and get those positions. We are going to get the chance to chat with some of our drivers. First and foremost, a double winner, it has been confirmed. Ryan van der Rijp here along with us. Ryan, I think that's justice for you with the way that you drove at the front today. Nobody seemed to get anywhere near close to you in today's action.
Yeah, I guess, what can I say? I just like the track a lot. Felt really comfortable.
It's as simple as that sometimes. So talk us through dealing with a sprint race and then this Master Star race, the differences that come through and the work that you and Manatee have done trying to work out the best strategies on what was a very tough day of racing.
Yeah, just try to make sure that we did everything correctly in the pit stops and that we were safe in terms of the window. And that's about it.
Well, it's sometimes as simple as that. The next round isn't going to be around until the 14th, so you've got a couple of weeks before the Nürburgring comes to mind. What do you think that will hold for you in terms of possibility? Do you think it's going to be one of strength or one of weakness?
Surely one of strength. Gonna make sure that my teammates also prepare well for it, and hopefully we'll have some fun there.
Well, 2 at the top then. Ryan van der Rijp getting it done at the double and joining us here today. Alex Goldschmidt has taken the walk down the virtual pit lane and he has found himself along with Dan van Zutphen, who has got the win in Pro-Am.
Dan, well, firstly, congratulations. 2 wins for you today in the sprint and the Master. It was a tough one out there, wasn't it?
It's a tough one, yeah, for sure. Given I completely didn't feel comfortable with the car itself, really, I didn't feel the connection with Road America, so I feel really happy, yeah.
But nevertheless, it was elbows out, and obviously we saw you, intermixed with a battle between Freak Cook, Oya Hugo, Daniel Mills, Corbin Lenaway. You played the game very, very smartly. It was a case of, well, okay, I'm going to keep with these guys to extend my lead, but I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, I mean, if you know your strengths, and like I said, I didn't feel comfortable, there's no point in fighting. So then you just do the best, you choose what's best for your race, and you stick to your own plan.
Well, congratulations on the double victory in both the sprint and also the master. Well done today, and congratulations on the great effort, despite not feeling 100% comfortable here at Road America.
Thank you. Thanks for the broadcast.
Well, what a day's worth of action we have had. And of course, we will get a little bit of updates on anything that happens post-race to you as and when that comes. It's a massive crew that puts it together here with us in the SimRacing Republic GT Open. Want to thank all of the people behind the scenes been working the race control, which is run by Maximilian Fritz. That was absolutely brilliantly done here today. And so want to give thanks to the team here, of course, from Alex Goldschmidt, from, of course, Christian Deploy, who's behind the director's chair, from Dougie Beard, who is on cameras. My name is Jake Sperry. I've just got word that Dan van Zutphen has picked up a one-lap post-race penalty for a pit stop that is too short, and so Niels Boekhager will now be the winner of your category out there overall in your Pro-Am division. So a huge moment that has happened as we take a tiny look at race control. We will very quickly, though, jump in, and I believe we got Luke Sloats, who is here with us. Luke, up, down, all around. Somehow you've come out with Am victory. It was a very busy master race for you.
Yeah, it was a bit of chaos at the start. I got spun out, had a lot of damage to get repaired, so at the safety car was dead last. But somehow we managed to get to the victory. I have no idea how we did it. I think the management on tires and fuel, the correct timing on the pit entries and pit stops, it was just the whole execution was perfect.
The execution was there. It's a small category for you to race in, but of course you've got a teammate in there helping you out. But let's talk through the incident that you had, because it looked really crazy from the perspective of someone jumps in, you're looking to try and avoid that contact through the hurry down section, and then suddenly you find yourself around and back across the circuit.
Yeah, it was chaos. I was in the battle with another guy, with the guy behind me, and I was looking in the mirror behind me, and suddenly I heard my teammate saying, "In front of you, incident." So I look in front of me, and my teammate was taken out, and the car was driving towards me. I tried to avoid it, but sadly it hit me in the side, and I had a lot of damage. So I had around almost 2 minutes of damage. I had it fixed, and then just drove the race out.
It's everything that you could want, and do you feel like it's going to be same again when you go out to racing action in 2 weeks at the Nürburgring?
I have personally no idea. I feel quite confident about Nürburgring. I'm not the fastest, I can already tell that, but I can be consistent on it. So I think it's just enough practice, and then see where it goes.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck with that as Luke Sloats then picks up the Am category result out there. We'll keep an eye on what's coming up next for you in terms of racing action here at this wonderful series, because in 2 weeks' time, we'll be over at the Nürburgring, Alex, and it will be a case of Grand Prix Strecker is what we're showing here, or Bezweck Chicane it will be. So that will be as aggressive as it comes for racing action.
Completely agree. I mean, it's a classic. It's been around for over 4 decades, and there will be absolutely nowhere to hide in the Eifel region. Who knows what the weather might bring as well, Jake?
No, there is very much that as well. There are no guarantees that weather's going to be clear and crystal, so we'll keep that out in terms of how they sort themselves up in 2 weeks' time. From all of this that has been done, you've got more coming up over the next week here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel. Classic Lotus Grand Prix will be with you in half an hour on the Global Sim Racing channel. Stay tuned for that as they'll be racing from the Fuji Speedway. It will be absolutely lights out racing there. Porsche's Owners Club will be back with you in December over at Mugello for racing action. MX5 United will be jumping over to Mount Panorama, as will the Skip Barbers as they get their championship in towards the final week's worth of action. Championship Thursday, it will be there for those out there working. But as far as it goes, you look at how you play this race and you say it is the biggest iRacing sale of the year. Black Friday is here through December 2nd. You get 50% of all new memberships. You get 25% off of early renewals and reactivations. iRacing.com/Black Friday for that. But someone will be looking for a renewal on what's happened on their stopwatch. And there will be two drivers who will look at it, Antti Terho and Dan van Zutphen, who have both been given one-lap penalties. Perfect for Van der Hrijp. Absolutely magical for Niels Boekhager. The early stop pays itself off in dividends. But it is all about now how they set up. Sloats getting the job done with Maillard as well, having a great day in Am. They set themselves up for 2 weeks' time. They head to what is the proverbial home of sim racing. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you in half an hour as well, because we've got racing action coming up at Fuji. But critically, for this championship, it is Nürburgring on the mind.